my favorite part of work sometimes is just like our lunch break, because
we all just step away and
and also like a lot of us will like sit down and eat lunch together, and we have like tons of inside jokes, and we're like chit-chatting about our day, and it's just like funny stuff that we will talk about, and so it's kind of like that social aspect that you don't get maybe at home.
Yeah, ours is just more like if we're getting ready to talk about something, we just might catch up to see how each other's lives are doing.
Number, taking a name, you coded the door, and welcome to the game.
Welcome back to another episode of Dear Dilemma. For today's dilemma topic, we're going to be discussing working from home versus going to the office or hospital, wherever you work at.
Being in person
versus work from home. I work from home, and Hannah,
I work in person.
So we're going to discuss some pros and cons with this, and we're interested also to see what you have to say. So make sure to comment your opinions in on this, if you work from home or you work in person, because we're just interested to hear what other people have to say about this, especially with us being in two different work fields of that source. So I guess I'll go first. So I work from home. I have been working from home for the past 3 years. I love working from home, but there are times when I don't, especially when my dogs are barking.
Oh, for meetings? That would be awful.
They do it. I swear they know when I'm on a meeting, one of my dogs will come in and he does I gotta go out. And I'm like, you've had all day and I just let you out. And he's like, oh, you're on a meeting? I gotta go out. It drives me crazy. So there's I would say, I guess it really depends personally for you if you work from home or in person. There's definitely some pros and cons with working from home. Mm-hmm. And I would just like to say this, that everyone, and I always say this to my mom, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, just because you work from home does not mean we are not doing anything. We're still working as if we were in an office. Like, minus I may throw in some laundry or I'm able to do the dishes or something. But like, other than that, I'm still working. I'm not just sitting there doing nothing. Sometimes.
That is the part that I would say that I'm like jealous about with working
getting
from home.
A little bit of chores done?
Yeah, because one of the jobs that I had prior to my current job was I got to work from home like 1 day a week. And that 1 day a week, I was so productive.
Yeah.
Maybe not all the way at work, but like I could pop in the kitchen and I could do some dishes and
on those chores. I was not productive getting on that computer though.
Well, I mean, it was a good balance, but I do feel like it would like helped me get caught up on some household stuff.
It is interesting that I will have all weekend to do laundry or like sweep or whatever. I mean, dishes I do every day just because I'm OCD about it. But and I won't like laundry stuff. I'll forget. I won't do it. And then that Monday rolls around. I'm like, I do that laundry, and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, you've had all weekend. Yeah. But now that you're sitting at your desk, you're like, I'm going to do that laundry. So those are some pros, I would say. Obviously, working from home is great. I get up, I walk 2 feet. I'm in my room. I don't have to like wake up an hour early to get ready, which I probably should. That probably help my mood a little bit to wake up.
Do you do like the business up top and the sweatpants down bottom?
If I'm in a meeting with someone, like a new customer or something, yes. But if it's just like a meeting with my team, no. We're all usually in like a crew neck. I mean, there's a couple of girls on the team that like do their hair and makeup, and I'm like, I wish I was like you guys, and I give you kudos. The only time I get dressed up for work or do that is if I'm meeting with a new customer or already customer where I have to look a little bit more presentable.
Do you still wear sweatpants on the bottom though?
Oh yeah, they can't see.
I thought so. I was just curious.
They can't see. I mean, you're seeing like pretty much here what you're seeing now. Yeah. So, and the background is like blurred anyways.
Oh,
so
that's
they can't
nice.
see. But honestly, and this is just personally for me, if I'm meeting with someone like that anyways, most of the time I'm more dressed up than they are. Because they also potentially work from home too. Yeah. I work in sales with shoes, so it's not like super neat.
Like all suits and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're going in person, that's different.
What are your cons?
My cons is that I'm home all the time, which I know somebody who says I'm always like being home. Sometimes it's a little too much and I need a break. Like the cons, like the dogs barking, that drives me insane. Just being in the house all the time, I almost need to like pack my computer up and go work somewhere else, which sounds great, but when you're doing what I'm doing, I need to have like 2 monitors going.
Oh yeah.
And that's hard to do with just one. But my goal is this summer when it gets warmer is to try to get away like on my lunch break and go work somewhere for a little bit and then or finish my day somewhere else. But that's also hard to find locations where you can like there's times where, and this is usually after the dogs are barking or like Zach's got his music up real loud or something, is where I think I would almost pay rent to rent out a little suite, like a little office suite, just to get out of the house and get away.
Just to have something separate.
Like if I could pay somebody like $50 a month and only work in an office for like 2 days a week, or just that one thing would help. So that's a con, I would say. Always being at home. I don't really go eat food on my lunch. I do so more in the summer just because obviously it's warmer. It's easier to just like go. Whereas the winter you have to bundle up a little bit more. So that's kind of the con of always trying to have food in the house. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not door dashing like someone and spending tons of money.
Okay, I stopped. Do you find yourself like eating healthier because you're at home, or do you actually eat like worse because you're like, oh, I'll just grab like the pizza rolls out of the freezer and like heat them up real quick, or
I think
for lunch?
I think I eat worse because we have like our candy snack drawer that I'm always getting into, or well, I mean, even when I worked elsewhere, I still did like the microwavable meals. That's another pro is like you can start dinner. Like crock pots, meals, which I know people start crock pots before they go to work, but that stresses me out. I'm afraid it's going to catch on fire in the house.
Same, I can't ever do it,
So I know it's a mental thing. But.
Do you still have your treadmill that you use?
I do. So that was my goal, was to help me get up, was to, get up an hour before work and walk or jog on that, or even during. So I have like a walking pad, and then I have the desk that rises because sometimes I will just be so tired and being in the same spot that I'm like, I need to stand up. Mm-hmm. So I do use that sometimes. So it's kind of a pro and a con.
Yeah.
What else? I have others, but let's talk about in person. Well, which we all know the con is you can't kind of go do what you need to do randomly. Like if I needed to run to the store to get something,
you can't just leave and you can. I can't. Yeah. So I'd have to like clock out and come back in and clock back in.
What do you think pros would be?
Well,
like I miss people.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So for instance, kind of giving a little background, I have worked in like an office setting before, and it was like to me really boring. I just couldn't handle it. But I'm a very active person, so I do physical therapy in the hospital.
So and I'm going all over the floors.
All over. And people don't even know that like physical therapy exists inside a hospital. They just think it's like an outpatient, like where you get injured and you go and like work on your shoulder. But like I'm getting people up like right after surgery or like in the ICU, stuff like that. And I love being able to have the variety of like what I see. It's also very physically demanding, so I'm like constantly walking, I'm having to lift patients, I'm moving a lot, but then I also have charting, so I sit down. So I kind of have like the best of both worlds, to be honest. I think it's nice to like have that interaction, because like you're saying, if I was home all the time, I think that I would miss a little bit of that like interaction with other people. But I also, on the flip side, get like really worn out with it too, because you have
you're doing it constantly 8 hours.
That, and you have like patients that are like really mad and like angry, or they like are disrespectful. You know, there's times where you just have those situations.
And that could be even like if you work at an office and you're dealing with calls from customers or whatever it may be. Like,
or a restaurant. I mean, you just get like worn out. I think that's with any job. Sometimes you're just like, oh man, like I wish people were just nice to me. And then like with you, for instance, like I don't know if you're subjective to like all of the work dynamics with your own coworkers.
So since we're all virtual, we do pretty good. Like we usually have a meeting once a week with all of us, but like if we're working on, a new season or something, the sales, like we might just get on, like there's only a team of how many totals? 4 of us, 4 girls. So like we'll get on and chat. And sometimes it's nice because, we may get on to chat about something for work related, but we'll take a few minutes to like catch up, and because we don't ever see each other in person. Yeah. I'm the only one that travels like to shows, whereas they travel to go see their customers in person. I actually attend shows.
Okay.
And which is nice. That's one of my pros, is I get to travel for my job, but I get to travel and I get to see all the other reps within our company. And it's so fun because since I don't work in person, that is my in person. So it's like,
That's nice. How often do you travel?
so I travel twice a year, but we're hoping to add more shows. So twice a year I do that. And then of course I go see a customer also twice a year. So I travel like 4 times a year total. But those times are so great because I'm like, wow, I'm in person. I get to see you in person, face to face. And it's just like a fresh new, like, I don't know, reaction or whatever it may be. It's like, I needed this.
Well, and my favorite part of work sometimes is just like our lunch break because we all just
step away and
and also like a lot of us will like sit down and eat lunch together and we have like tons of inside jokes and we're like chit-chatting about our day and it's just like funny stuff that we will talk about, and so it's kind of like that social aspect that you don't get maybe at home.
Yeah, ours is just more of like if we're getting ready to talk about something, we just might catch up to see how each other's lives are doing. Or like with the TikTok ban, they've been laughing at me because of like everyone switching to Redno, and I have to make sure that they're like hip and in with what's going on. And so I've been trying to teach them Mandarin from me learning from TikTok, and so that's always fun. And then of course, getting my boss involved. So like, it's those little moments that are kind of nice. It takes you away from feeling like you're at work, even though it's just a quick like 5-minute catch up and like, how are the kids and how's this going? And
right.
It's like, all right, now let's get back into what we need to talk about.
Yeah, and
I save gas. I save money on gas. Sorry, that's a pro. I save money on gas.
That's true. You just thought
my
of that.
miles on my car are so low because
you don't drive anywhere.
I don't have to drive anywhere unless I'm going to the airport, and that's again like 4 times a year.
That's not bad. I think too, like, so the cons for my job is probably more so that I don't get to have extra time to like get caught up on
you have to be
laundry
there
or
at
do
a certain time.
Yeah, you have to
get in trouble.
Clock in. You get points if you call in. Like, you have to be a pretty reliable, employee. Really, you're like held to a certain standard and all that. But at the end of the day, though, I kind of like getting out of the house and having that routine. And I actually shortened my hours, so I work like Tuesday through Friday, and I work only 8-hour days.
I think a 4-day work week would make people so much more proactive and
productive and happy, and mental health
because
is a lot better.
Well, like when we have holidays and you get that extra day off, we come back so much more refreshed and we're like, all right, let's get into this. And if not, that 5-day work week is like
and if I'm having like a bad week, I'm kind of just like, oh, well, I only have to deal with this for 4 days.
Yeah.
But if I'm having a good week, I'm like, oh, like, this is great. I'm enjoying it. And then I get the weekend and I get 3 days. Like, yay.
Yeah. Well,
either way.
I don't get that. But this is what I tell myself. If I'm kind of frustrated with my job or what's going on, I'm like, okay, bro, you work from home. You know, you can, well, usually I'm on the computer by 8. But, like, if you have to be a few minutes late, they're not going to yell at you. So, you're like, you not work when you want, but, like,
you have a little freedom. Yeah.
So you work from home, you get to do that. You're not spending money on driving every day. You get to travel.
You're not spending money in the cafeteria. Like, I go down the hospital cafeteria and it's like bad. Oh my gosh.
That was awful. Like, your paychecks would be so short. But that's another thing. And then in my mind, I'm like, you get free shoes. So,
yeah, that's true.
So even those hard days, I have to tell myself, like, you work from home. Like, it could be worse. You may be stuck in the office right now. Or you may have to go in to the office so many days a week. But sometimes I also think because I miss that, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, wow, I kind of almost want to get a part-time job, like serving again, just to get out. And then I'm like, ooh, no, you don't, because then you'll be stuck working like every single day of your life.
Yeah. Well, so it's kind of funny you say that, because on the flip side, sometimes I consider applying for remote jobs because I'm like, I love my job and I love my schedule, but there's times where I'm like, should I give it all up just for like a full-time remote job? But that would mean that I would probably end up making potentially less money and working more hours.
See, I'm like,
is it really worth it?
I'm the opposite. I always say, because in the sales world, you never know if you're going to lose your job, because that happens every year. Of it gets to the end of the year, they figure out what they did on the revenue, and every year they always make cuts. And it's always usually around like Christmas or after, which is awful. But that's the end of the year. It's awful.
Yeah.
So you never know. I've never been in a position where like every year you're like, am I going to have my job? And it doesn't matter. You could be the top performer. Just that's how it works. So mine's opposite because of where we live. I'm like, if I were to be let go, no one in this town's going to pay me what I make online.
No.
So what would I do? Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to take a pay cut, but again, nowhere around here. And then you look at other remote jobs and they're like $20,000 a year, and you're like, okay, no.
Yeah.
So in my mind, that is a backup thing of, because I truly never know. I mean, I hope that never happens, and I've been blessed so far, and our team's been blessed, but you just don't know if that's a factor. So that's a con, I will say.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's a con with the job, not really working from home. Well, I guess that is a con working from home because of my job, because I work from home. No one in person in town would pay me.
Is anybody else lost? I'm lost.
I'm
now.
also lost. Anyways, well, I guess you kind of said your pros and your cons.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I feel like either whether you're a remote worker or you're in person, there's definitely always pros and cons to each.
Oh yeah, there's no perfect job. Unless I worked with dolphins.
You thought about that for a hot minute.
I went to college for 2 classes to start online.
Marine biology, right?
Yeah, and then
remember
the
that.
college lied and screwed me over, and they were going to, like, financially screw me over, but luckily I got out before that, and I was like, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to move to Florida, and I'm going to work at the Clearwater Aquarium, because that is where they rehabilitate, and they put them back out in the wildlife where they're supposed to go, unless they can't, like Winter the Dolphin, rest in peace, and that's what I would love to do.
Brooke missed her calling, obviously.
I did, because I'm not good at biology, but if I was... Sorry, Hannah, we would not have this podcast because your girl would be living.
I know, you'd be living on the beach.
You'd be like, wow, her life is so cool.
You know, I kind of, going back to, like, the work thing, I kind of wonder about, like, people that work in maybe, like, an office or even, like, trades, how they feel about their setting. Because I could see, like, if you work outside all the time, you probably like it in certain months, but then you hate it in other months.
I do think about
and,
that in the wintertime. I'm like, ugh. I bet you guys hate your life right now. But then in the summer, it gets so hot sometimes you're also like...
That would be awful, too.
I don't know. Someone could pay me $75 an hour to sit there with the construction stop sign and the go sign. I would do that. Radio, got it. Roll up my sleeves, get a little tan.
Farmer's
Call me if you need me. I know they do more than that. But
They
typically
do.
the woman is like just standing there holding the stop sign like...
Well, and then, like, other people, like, first responders, you know, like, they're always working holidays, they're working, like, odd hours and evenings and seeing lots of...
Traumatic.
Literally.
Incidents. Traumatic.
For real. So, I guess if anybody else has things to add, we'd love to just hear comments. I know everybody's work setting's different, but there's definitely pros and cons to each.
Oh, I love my job. I love it.
Yeah.
I just think I just need to... We always talk about this on the team. We're like, we could never make it to an office. Like, we have an office. It's in Boston, but we could never make it. Like, you know, there's no way. But then I was in Boston recently, and I had 2 options. I could have stayed there and worked, or I could have left and went to explore Boston, or I really always wanted to go to Salem just to see where Hocus Pocus was filmed.
Yeah.
And I was a responsible girly. And I stayed and worked in the office, and I closed that door, and I got so much stuff done because I didn't have dogs barking or a fiance going, "You done yet? You done yet? What's for dinner? You done yet? You want to go to Walmart?" And I'm like, it's like 1:30. I don't have time to go to Walmart. Like, that's what I'm saying. Just if you have someone in your life that works from home, they're working. Okay, just because they're taking your calls does not mean they're not doing anything. They're working.
It's true. And I think it is, like what you said about just that you love your job. Like, I love my job too. I think it's about finding that little niche, like, of what you enjoy and the hours and the schedule and, like, what fits into your lifestyle. Because I sometimes get a wild hair at my you-know-what, and I'm like...
Her bungalow.
And sometimes I'm like... maybe I should, like, you know, get a remote job or whatever. And then I'm like, why would I ever do that? Like, I like
the
my
pros
job.
and cons in your head.
Yeah, and then I'm like, you know what?
It's one tough day.
I don't want to. Yeah, it's one tough day.
Yeah.
I still, at the end of the day, love my job and enjoy it and want to keep coming back. So.
But I will say this. I wish that I could find, and I wish I could find this in my current job now, but that's not possible. But I wish I could find, if there was an opportunity to make what I make now or more, remotely, 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts.
Oh, yeah.
sign a girl up. And if you know of that out there, comment below what that is, because I just out of curiosity want to know if that's even a thing. Without being an RN or a doctor or a nurse practitioner, get the healthcare out of there of being like.
But like something you wouldn't have to necessarily like go back to school for. Like you have your bachelor's.
Yeah,
you
like
just want to work like 3 days.
Get out of there. But if it's like a medical position where you don't have to be a doctor, you can do that. I'm just really curious because I've tried Googling it and that's not a thing.
Well, one of our physical therapists works 3 12-hour shifts.
Oh, I missed that. But I hated it because I had to work every other weekend. If I didn't have to work every other weekend and I could do like Monday through Wednesday or like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday or something.
Yeah, I wonder what else is out there. Also, I think other countries are like trialing the 4-day work week. And I love that I don't have to work 4 10s. What?
Well, not in Richmond, but like some of the companies in the United States have tried it and they're like, it's just a trial period. And they're like, but I wonder how that works. Do you still get paid 40 hours? Because some of them said that they are going to pay them full time like they are.
I don't know that. Like, I'm hourly. So I only work, like, I only get.
Oh, you get that OT. What's that like? Miss that.
Well, I don't really pick up extra days.
Yeah, you work less.
But, because I work 32 hours a week, so I don't actually roll into overtime until I work 40 plus. Even though I'm only scheduled for 32 hours. I don't know if that makes sense, but, like...
See, I'm salary, so I'm worked, like, you know, if I have a show, typically my shows are on the weekend, and I'm there all weekend. My good thing is that, like, my boss makes sure, too, with me. He's like, hey, you work Saturday, Sunday, make sure you're going to take, like, Friday off.
Or,
that's
nice.
And typically, I always have to end up getting the red eye. So then he's like, hey, make sure you don't start work until, like, you know, I'm not expecting you to be on at 8. Get on, like, you didn't get home till probably 12 or 1. You know, get on. So, like, that's some good stuff. I will say that's the only bad thing about salary is, like, some companies will just work you to the bone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But anyways, well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please comment your work from home versus in-person opinions or comments. If you know that 3 days a week, 12 hours online, we're very curious because I have tried Googling and differently wording that and I can't find anything at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode and tune in next week.
Yeah. Sorry that we kind of rambled a little bit about our jobs, but it's nice for you guys to get to know us a little bit too. Yeah. You're watching our show, and that's what we do for our full-time job. And
yeah, I always have people, because I always put a picture on Instagram on my story, and I'm like, where am I going? And everyone's like, where do you work? Because, side note, sorry, I traveled a ton in November for my job.
You did.
Filling in for another person, so I was literally flying like twice a week for 3 weeks in a row, if not more. And people were like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm not a flight attendant, if that's what you think. I could do the thing absolutely 100% now, but yeah. So it's kind of fun to do that. When people are like, what's your job? I'm like, oh no, guess.
I'll give you option A, B, C,
I'm just going to
Well, also, if you guys just want to even comment what your occupations are, I would love that, because I think that there's so many occupations out there that people don't even know about. Like, they don't even know exist. So
yeah,
I think
get that. How did you get that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's a good story, let me tell you. So yeah, we're interested to hear and kind of get to know our viewers a little bit as well. So make sure to comment below. Follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube and Instagram. Hopefully TikTok if we still have it.
Yeah, at Dear Dilemma Official.
See you next week.